Hi everyone. Are you ready to go on a thought experiment with me? So you have to imagine that you are in Croatia, okay? And you are in this beautiful playing hall in Zagreb. And this is where the Grand Chess Tour is happening. And you have the young talent Gukesh right in front of you. He's sitting there with complete focus and dedication. And in comes the legend Vishy Anand, the 5-time world champion and one of the greats of the game, India number one. And the clash between India number one on the right and India number two in classical chess begins. But this is a rapid game and we are going to see it. It's the first ever time that Vishy and Gukesh were pitted against each other. And it is a very, very exciting game to follow. Who came out on top? Who won it? Let's have a look. So, with the white pieces, we have Gukesh. With the black pieces is Vishy Anand. Gukesh opens the game with 1 e4. Vishy plays c6, the Karo card. d4, d5, f3. And this is known as the fantasy variation of Karo Khan, and it leads to very sharp positions, mainly because the f3 square is best placed for the knight, but you're putting a pawn there, which means that this will create a lot of issues for development for white. But on the other hand, his center is very strong. Vishy plays e6. And the thing is, Fabiano Caruana played the same opening a day ago against Vishy. And Vishy had played this, and here he had gone bishop b4. But clearly understanding that Gukesh will be well prepared for it, he changed it and went knight d7. Now, just to show you how rare this move is, bishop b4 in the database, live database, has 2173 games, while knight d7 has only 119 games. So that's the difference. Bishop comes out to e3. Now bishop b4, pinning the knight. And of course, there is a small threat. Let's say if it was black's move here, then he would take, and take. And the point is, when you recapture, this is something which you should definitely keep in mind during whenever a fantasy variation is played, is that this check and this pawn creates problems. Okay. So clearly Gukesh goes and defends it with his bishop. The position is roundabout even. There is a game Naroditsky versus Lenderman which is played here. And perhaps the most logical way to continue is knight e7, finishing the development. But Vishy thinks for a bit and plays c5. And here is your first question. This is not a great move by Vishy. What would you do here with white? White to play. You know, Gukesh was very quick to latch on to this sort of mistake by Vishy. He took here, you take back, and now found the great move of taking back. The reason is that now black suddenly starts to lag behind in development. See, if you take here with the bishop, then in this position I take, you take, and I play bishop check, and already you have trouble with this pawn, and either the king has to move or d5 is hanging. Let's say you decide to take with the knight. Then I simply develop. You take here, imagine, I take with the queen. You defend the pawn, and firstly, this is trouble time because now white is just clearly better. So these are the problems that are being faced, and you have to be very careful. So Vishy decides to take here, and this was also a strategy against Caruana. Give up a pawn, get a better structure, and then try to hold on to it. And he played this move knight e7. Again, very important move, very well played by Vishy. If you play knight gf6, the knight doesn't have too much of a future on this square because it is dominated by the f3 pawn. So the bishop can sit here and white would be clearly better. So knight e7 was good. Gukesh also developed castles. And here I was a bit surprised with Gukesh's next move. Generally, he is a fighter. He likes to find moves which keep the tension. So a very interesting move was Queen B4, Queen B1, because when you play Queen C7 trying to win this pawn, I will go in and defend that pawn. The other move which was interesting here was Bishop B5, because now my threat, let's say you go A6, is to simply take castle, and we reach a position where I'm still keeping very firmly my extra pawns and I'm going to put my bishop on D4. But the way in which Gukesh played, he castled here, and then Vishy simply played his queen and asked Gukesh, what is your idea? I'm winning back the pawn. And I think Gukesh here started to play certain inaccurate moves, A4, which led Vishy to equalize. A5, knight D3. I mean, this would have been, I think, equal knight C6, bishop F4, queen D8, and we are around equal. The A5 pawn is also under pressure. But Vishy went rook D8, and now Gukesh played bishop F4, good move. The queen is a little bit not so comfortable, queen D7, queen D2, came up. Or you could play knight D4, takes. This was also slightly better here for white. But Gukesh went queen D2, knight takes, pawn takes, knight C6. Knight went to G3. And now we have a position of opposite colored bishops. But very important here is to realize that white is putting some pressure in the position because his bishop is better. However, black's next move was classy, F6. I really liked it because now Vishy makes space for the queen, gets his bishop out, and he's all the time looking for this D4 break. Gukesh goes queen F2, bishop E6, bishop E3. Here I was considering this pawn sacrifice with D4. I thought it was an interesting one. But after takes in this position, well, it's not so easy to say who's better because white is a pawn up. Yes, they are weak pawns, but I would say the knight could come here. And so Vishy decided that he doesn't want to sacrifice the pawn just yet. And he played the move queen D7. Knight came back, stopping D4. Bishop F5, improving the position of the bishop. And now Gukesh went knight F4. This is now getting sharp chess. You know, the position is getting sharp. If you play G5, I go knight H5, queen F7, trying to attack the knight, defend the pawn, also attacking here. But maybe he goes knight G3, takes, and then F4, and white is the one who's attacking the black king. And so Gukesh really likes to sharpen the play with such moves. Queen F7 was played and H4. Again, sharpening the play, threatening G4, bishop G6, H5, trapping the bishop. So Vishy went H6, H5, fixing the structure there. Knight E5, and now a little move, rook D1. Knight went back, rook DB1, rook D7, and now he went rook B5. I think there were many ways to play in this position. There was also an idea like rook A4, stopping D4 and activating the rook. But rook B5 is interesting. Gukesh is looking at stopping D4, putting pressure here, doubling the rooks, defending this pawn. Many things are happening with this move. A6, rook C5, rook E8. And in came this move C4. And this is where I started to feel, wow, Gukesh is taking this, really making it complicated. Well, Vishy had a very strong move knight E5 here. And this would have put pressure on D3. And the position would not have been any trouble. Let's say take, this is equal. But you know what happened here? He pushed D4. He went back. And now rook E5 was played. And Gukesh finds another move which keeps the tension going, which is very important. Rook D5. And now is your question, how would you play with black here? Anand went wrong in this position. He made the most natural move, which was to take here, And you know, this rook, it defends this pawn, attacks here, knight went back, attacking this. But this is a mistake. We'll come to it. He should have taken rook d5. Takes, now knight e7. d6, now come back. And this position is fine for black because the rook is well placed here and position is good. Or you can play a move like bishop e6, asking questions to the rook, and then the position should be equal, like I take, you take, or maybe you take with the knight in this position, and black is doing fine. But the moment he took here and played, now knight e5 was relatively better. The position still remains sharp after d6. I think white is maybe slight better here. But he went knight e7, and here's your next question. What would you do here with white? Yes, very important move found by Gukesh, g4. Suddenly the bishop is running out of squares. Has to go back. And then, now your next move, what do you do here with white? So, two moves are possible. One is to take with the queen. This is a good move. We'll come back to it later. But the move that Gukesh played was rook c1. Fantastic move. And all of a sudden, this is such a crowded place. You can't take this pawn because check and you are mated on the back rank almost. You need to lose the queen. And you don't have moves. Your pawn is hanging. It's such a weird sort of a move that has come out from the blue. It's lost. And in fact, if you take with the queen, knight d5, the same concept here, rook c1. This is also winning. So both were winning here, but Gukesh went for rook c1. And now Vishy kind of, I think the best defense was king h8, so that later you can block this check with the bishop here. But it's not easy. And I mean, it was also losing. He went g5. Gukesh took. Bishop takes. Queen h4. Very strong. h5. He took. Bishop f5. And now I like this next move. King f2. Making way for the rook to attack from this side. He took. And now your move once again. White to play. What do you do? Well, essentially what I wanted to ask is, do you give a check from here or here? G1 or C8? Well, if you go from G1, then after king H8, white is not finishing off the game. The position remains around equal, better, but not over. So rook C8 is great. If go king H7, if he goes king G7, there is queen G3 check, which leads to a winning position, similar to the game. But let's go here and now find the final blow. White to play, what do you do? Yes, it's the only winning move and you need to find it. Gukesh found it, knight G6, and it's over because rook H8 check and bishop H6 is a mate. So if you take this, I go check here and mate. What a nice mate with all the pieces. And if you make space for the queen here, something like this, then still it's a mate. Here, check, king here, mate. So perhaps the best defense now is king G7. But there are many ways to now end this game. One of the beautiful ways is knight E5 fork. Pawn takes and now queen G5. King H7 and mate. Otherwise, you are losing material if you go bishop back, check, king f6 and rook f8, winning the queen and the game. So, a brilliant game by Gukesh, I would say. There were moments which were amazing. I think one of them which I really liked, and maybe it's not objectively the best, but this is what Gukesh does, is this move c4. Just blasting open the position, making it completely wild. And actually Vishy fell for it and he didn't play so well. So on the end of the rapid segment of the tournament, we have Nepo Fabi leading with 12 out of 18. We have Magnus on 11. Vishy and Gukesh both finished with 10. We have 2 days of blitz now, where all of them will try to finish, because there will be 18 rounds and each win is 1 point. So although the gap is just 2 points between the leaders and the Indian players, you have 18 points, 18 games to catch it up. We'll follow all the action, but as of now, the first ever game between the 17-year-old Gukesh and 53-year-old Vishy Anand ends in victory for Gukesh, and it was a very interesting one. Someone mentioned to us that, it's a great moment for Vishy because he trains Gukesh at WACA, and it's like his student managed to beat him, which is true. It was a kind of a win-win for Vishy, but great play there by Gukesh. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.